What's up? It's your boy James Ellsworth, the man who beat AJ Styles not once, not twice, but 3 times, the real winner of the first ever Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And on Saturday, August the 8th, me and my buddy Gilbert, former WWF Light Heavyweight Champion, will be live in the studio with Monte and the Pharaoh. Check out monteandthepharaoh.com for further details. We're going to be doing a live Q&A. We're going to be auctioning off merchandise, a lot of cool stuff. So once again, that's Saturday, August the 8th, monteandthepharaoh.com for further details. See you then, and remember, any man with 2 hands has a fighting chance.
Hey everybody, it's Gilbert! Come on out and see me and my boy Ellsworth at the Monty and Pharaoh show, Saturday, August 8th. You can come out and see us live because there's going to be a studio audience. Go to www.montyandthepharaoh.com. Hope to see you there. Bye!
Hey, it's me, the mouth of the sound, Jimmy Hart. Hey, check out my new tag team, baby, Monty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, Jimmy, don't forget to tell them about Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Well, you know what, I would, but you already did it.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
With Monty and Pharaoh. The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and Pharaoh, bro.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Monty and the Pharaoh.
The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
And you're watching the Monty and Pharaoh show.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
With Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
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 Monty and Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Monty and Pharaoh.
The Monty and the Pharaoh Show.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
To the Monty and the Pharaoh show. And it's Monty and the Pharaoh, baby.
Watching Monty and the Pharaoh.
With Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, what a run.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Hey, cut music. When you want the best in professional wrestling, Long Island, there's only one place you're going to get it, right here.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible. Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with 2 more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we're going to rock it.
And he's going to hit him with a coconut while throwing bananas at him and making fun of his heritage. You're the guy that's running that organization.
Are you pulling the trigger
saying,
on that skit,
You know what? I'm going to
Justin?
grab my and I'm going to go with this.
I'm not going to go with that one.
Not today, huh?
Not today.
Straight to the top. We're living this life, not just dreaming it, we're doing it for real. Straight to the top. Working hard every day just to live out that way.
All right, welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, Long Island. I'm going to turn you over to the star of the show. He's going to give you something called the juice. You're the star of the show, but this is like the regular star of the show. So
Where did you come up with the juice, by the way?
I don't know.
This is recent with you. All of a sudden, it's the juice. Okay, folks.
What do you want me to call it?
Yeah, get your glasses because you're about to get a big glass of juice. Here we
right,
go.
there you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest this week is not just the coolest, and he's not just the best. This is, folks, Justin incredible.
All right,
What's going on, fellas? How are you? Great to be back on the broadcast, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming
It's a
down
long
here
wait
and
finally getting there, right? We gotta
I know,
go post
yeah.
commercial breaks, all this shit. So, how you holding up, bro?
I'm holding up great, man. I'm very blessed, fortunate enough to be working in these crazy times with some great people, and just getting ready to hopefully get back to some normalcy at some point this year, and just get back to performing, to getting in that ring. I never thought I'd miss wrestling as much as I do now, but just feel very fortunate, especially to be here with you guys.
Well, thank you.
I trained with the Hearts. I had my first pro match October 16th, 1992. I worked for Calgary Stampede, Bret Hart's family's organization. Had my first 10 matches out there, and then I came to the States. Didn't know anybody. Didn't do any indie shows. I went to by myself, nobody told me to do this, to the old New Haven Coliseum for a WWF house show. And I introduced myself to Tony Gurria, Blackjack Lanza, and Pat Patterson. And I said, sir, I was trained by the Hart brothers. If I could just sit here and, watch the show, if you'd grant me that. They're like, oh, yeah, go ahead, kid.
I don't mean to cut you up, but how do you even get to them, though?
Yeah,
how do you
even walk backstage with my bag.
You're just like, hey.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had balls, man.
where the hell is security?
There was no security back then. You just walk, man.
Just walk in.
Yeah.
Hey, Vince.
You were always taught that if you're one of the boys,
Right.
you're welcome in any locker room.
Right.
So I just did it.
You were already playing the part. You just
I
walked
didn't know
in.
it. I mean, I guess it was ballsier than I thought it
That's
was. I
pretty
wasn't
ballsy,
trying
though.
to be ballsy. I just thought that's what you do.
Yeah.
And I saw the show. They didn't use me, of course. And then I said, thank you for the experience. And Tony Gurria reaches in his jacket. He's like, here's my card. We're starting a new show in Manhattan called Monday Night Raw. Wow. We could use some guys to do jobs and extras, And I said, okay.
Sure.
And right away, that's what kind of got me started in that pathway of meeting these guys and learning.
But at no point was there, like the Gurria say, and after we talk about this, Pat Patterson needs you to change his light bulb in his office or something?
Nah, Pat, you know what? Pat Patterson was one of the kindest, gentlest human beings, one of the most...
Everybody loves Pat Patterson.
He's one of the most influential guys because he didn't have to give me the time of day. And a lot of people talk a lot of bad things about Pat because of his sexual orientation. A lot of that's a bunch of...
If you could do it all over, would you have been a wrestler? Ooh.
Wow, now I'm surprised.
I'm hearing the wires crackling.
Oh, wow.
He's he's really thinking about it. He's like, let me see.
I don't know. I guess I would.
Okay.
Because I've had some of the greatest memories of my life as a pro wrestler. But from a living, breathing human being and his future and after wrestling, my future and what it entails, no.
Interesting.
No. I wouldn't want to take away the memories. I wouldn't want to take away the experiences. But from a professional standpoint, from a money-making standpoint, I would have stayed far and clear.
Really?
Because it caused my family and myself so much mental and physical pain that I don't think I'll ever be able to share.
Right.
It's more than people can imagine.
Sonny, Tammy Stitch, who was supposed to be in studio.
Yeah.
She's back in jail. Another issue.
Yeah.
I know you spent some time with her. Could you talk about her at all?
I've known Tammy since I pretty much since I started. I've known her since '94. She was always very impulsive. I think she suffers from, and I'm not trying to. This is not a dig in any means, shape, or form. I think she really suffers from mental illness. I think she has a lot of issues. Obviously, substance abuse, something I've dealt with my entire career. But I think she really just feels like she's still Sunny from 1995.
I was going to ask, is she trapped in her gimmick?
I think she is. And I think she's gone through so much, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I got in some trouble a couple of years ago. And it really kind of made me realize, like, you got to chill out, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Things have, and I don't think Tammy ever learned her lesson, and I honestly don't think she ever will.
That you with the Clique, you hung out with the Clique, hung out with Scott Hall. Being that you were with them, I was always very surprised that you didn't get more of a push.
Right.
You talk about X-Pac or 1-2-3 Kid at the time. He got a push. You were, in my opinion, much more talented than he was. And I felt you were in that same role as he was, and I never understood why they didn't Because they had a lot of clout, right? They made a lot of. How come they didn't push you ahead? Like, didn't you ever talk to Scott and be like, "Yo, help me out here"?
I didn't want to. I don't know. I just didn't feel good with that.
You felt like you were pulling a card or something, taking a shortcut or something?
I did, and I just felt it wasn't for me to do. I was like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I also was from the school of, I didn't feel I was ever ready at that point to really be pushed to that level.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time that I was offered something was when Razor and Kev went to WCW. Everybody's your friend, but in this business, nobody's going to go the extra mile.
Right.
And speaking,
unless there's something in it for them.
Right. And speaking of that, at one point you were obviously close with Scott Hall. The last time you were here, I remember, you didn't have the greatest feeling about Scott, and quite honestly, we're not so sure about ourselves. Has the feelings changed? Where are you at with Scott Hall today as we speak?
I think Scott is a lost soul, in my opinion, man. I've stuck it out with him through the years. I've always been the guy to, all his detractors. I kind of sometimes look stupid in sticking up for him.
Okay.
So he's just done me wrong too many times to where I feel like I can even say anything anymore.
Did you ever finally get him on the phone and be like, you know what, bro? I mean, did you have that conversation with him after all the
No.
No. I mean...
No, the last exchange I had with him was, I think he said something to me on Twitter of like, stop being, because I said something about like, recovery or
okay.
something along those lines.
Okay.
Of me like kind of searching for some kind of help. And he's like, he basically called me out, said, you know what, you're a puss, man up.
On Twitter?
Yeah, just kind of just verbally blasted me on Twitter.
Because you expressed the want to try to better yourself?
Yeah. And
he's putting you down? How many times have Vince got a check for him to a rehab? All right, that's interesting.
But anyways,
all right, go on.
It was at the time where I was just like, you know what, dude? Because a bunch of us have also had that come to Jesus moment with Scott. X-Pac did too. They almost came to blows one time in a car ride.
It's known as the come to Jesus moment with Scott Hall.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Just, he's who he is, man, and you're not going to change him.
Tell us about Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman, man, he was definitely he was a cartoon character. He was if you ever watched the movie The Devil's Advocate.
Yes.
He was Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate. That's Paul Heyman in real life. Paul Heyman gets credited for being a great booker, a great storyteller,
innovator,
and he is all those things.
Yeah.
But the best thing he did was he was a great motivator. He took talent that was
minimal,
underdeveloped, and also underconfidenced, and he made you believe.
Right.
And he would get you in a corner, like 5 minutes before your match. He would sit there and lock you into a place, just you and him talking, and he'd be like, give you this big pep talk, like you could do this. You are this character. You have all the talent you've ever needed. You just got to go out there and do it.
Did he create most of the characters we saw in ECW?
A lot of them, yeah.
Did he walk up to you one day, size you up and down, and go, just incredible? Was it like that, or?
Sort of, yeah.
That's
sort
amazing. He's a genius.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sort of, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
How did you feel when he dropped the name to you? You must have been like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I always had the idea of I wanted to be a Shawn Michaels-esque heel where like bumping feet, like a Ric Flair kind of, Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens, a guy that just a heel that bumps around for the babyface, but also be a bag when he can get his shots in. And,
the bag portion of your character, because you were, and that's right, folks, you were uniquely irritating.
Yes.
Who did you pattern that? Sometimes you wanted to reach into the set and just choke you, and because you just... Who did you get that from? Did you have any influences? Because that was perfect.
It was just like the Ric Flairs, the bad guy, like, and just to be. You had carte blanche to kind of be a, and guys you couldn't stand, guys you wanted to beat up, and you could just be that little. And Paul helped. Paul had a bunch of little mannerisms and little things that I could do to kind of ramp that up. But it was really. It took me a couple of months to kind of get it all together, but it was fun. It was actually effortless.
It looked like it.
It was fun. It was fun, and we had a good time with it. And when sky's the limit, and you're allowed to just go out there and create, you can't go wrong, you know. And the worst you could do is like, that didn't work. Don't do that again.
Right.
So you swerve and you go to the other way.
Right.
But it was great. It was a great time for discovery, and you know, as long as you go out there and have good matches, quality matches.
How were you able to prepare yourself for what you would face physically in ECW? There's no way Vince McMahon's company prepared you. One of your classic moments, you come down off a ladder during one of the ECW ladder matches and bounce, literally bounce with your skull. I don't even know how do you practice stuff like that?
You don't. But
Geronimo!
But you know what?
Well, here goes nothing. Bang!
I must say this, and people are going to think I'm crazy, and I hate to even say this because it's going to kill the gimmick, but I got hurt more in WWF than I did in ECW.
How?
The rings were way softer in ECW.
Really?
And the guys we were working with were a lot smaller and a lot lighter.
Okay.
We controlled more of our own bumps, and we're like in WWE, those rings were like cement, and you were working with 320-pound guys that would just drive you through the mat and hit you as hard as they could.
Okay.
Where in ECW, we are all kind of close-knit, and it's like, don't kill me, dude. Just take it easy. I'll sell it for you.
How about all those tables, though? I mean,
those tables were easy.
The ECW tables, there's no way they were more expensive than the WWE tables.
Yeah, ECW tables, they weren't gimmicked, first of all.
They look like they were straight from the high school cafeteria. That had to hurt.
No.
No. There's no concrete around the ring. There's
that hurt.
Thank you.
But it broke your fall. It literally slowed you down quite a bit. If you really look at it, it goes tump, tump.
Right.
So you really, if you were to land straight through, it would hurt like hell. But you really lose a lot of that momentum that would hurt.
Right.
So it was just all, man, it was visual. We knew how to audio, visual, and how to manipulate it to make it work for us. You know, it was really the masterful work.
Right.
It really was.
Right. It was illusion at the highest form of art.
Really
That's
was,
for sure.
You know?
Oh my God. Who, in your opinion, has a more talented wrestling mind, Heyman or Bruce Pritchard?
Ooh, I like this.
Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman. By a mile.
You worked with Pritchard too, though, right?
Yeah, I worked with Bruce. I like.
So
Bruce
how
very
come
much.
Heyman over Pritchard?
I just think Paul is more contemporary. I think he's more in tune with what's going on in the business, where Bruce is more traditional pro wrestling, which again you could argue it's just a matter of taste. But I always felt Paul had a real way of motivating his talent and creating for that particular talent, where Bruce would just, I think, you know, he knew how to write good pro wrestling, where Paul could look at an individual and say, I see this in you, and go that way. Right. Where Bruce was more of a general, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to fit this piece whether you're good for it or not.
So I'm going to put your square peg in the round hole, no matter who you are.
And Paul would really
Paul's
make
like,
it
let
work.
me fix something for you.
Right. And it was more, again, he believed more in what do the young kids like? What's popular?
So then how come Paul doesn't translate anymore?
Because he doesn't care.
He's bought and paid for right now, isn't he?
Care. I mean, he was fighting for his life in ECW.
Right.
And it was a different time and a different era, and now it's almost like he's not the cool kid anymore.
Right.
And he hasn't done anything to prove anything differently.
He's Brock Lesnar's manager.
That's it. And that's it. And
he doesn't need to be anything else at this point. Why be anything else?
You know, I think, you know, what made ECW special was, you know, they used popular songs of the era.
Oh my God, did they
ever?
ever?
Created these cool vignettes.
I was just watching at the Sandman today with Sandman, and then there's Walk from Pantera with RVD. Those were great, by the way.
They don't play those on the network now.
They cut
it all out.
But when we were doing it then, it was just, man, it caught the vibe of what the kids wanted. It was cool. It was really, you know, it was original.
It was.
You know what I mean?
We would
and that's what really started the rock and wrestling with Mr. T and Survivor and Eye of the Tiger.
But we were talking about that, right? So today's wrestling, people always picking on everything that's going on. You know, you look at old ECW stuff, you see a whole bunch of mistakes happening.
But
you guys were forgiven for anything
Yes.
that went on. People just loved you
why?
that much.
Yeah.
You know why? Because as a viewer, organic is organic, and it came across organic.
Yeah.
It didn't come across like an overstuffed bull production.
Yeah.
What you saw was real.
A
It was
different
what was
time.
happening
It was a blurred time, right? Look, man. Even the WWE back then, sometimes I thought some was real.
Yeah.
I
you're
wondered
like,
about it.
whoa, wait a minute, is
I
this
wondered
really
about it.
happening? And maybe some of it was real because some things were happening in the background.
Right,
So-
like Flair and Bischoff really truly had problems in real life, and then they would explode.
Right.
Scott Hall with his drinking. Well, I hated when they did that, but they
Yeah,
did
me
that. Do you think, or do you feel, that Vince McMahon is currently destroying pro wrestling as we speak, with what he's doing, the way he's presenting it? Vince killing it or what?
Or I'll even ask you this: do you think Vince is even involved anymore? You talk
Oh,
about
stop
Heyman.
it.
Do you think Vince
is still
kind
involved.
of in the back seat now?
I honestly, that's a good question because I don't think Vince McMahon has ever meant less to pro wrestling than he does right now.
Ooh.
Seriously.
Wow.
We're not talking about. I honestly
Well,
don't think anybody really believes that Vince McMahon is a driving force of anything creatively.
I don't
I
think
think
so.
he's the final. Okay, yes or no.
I think whatever winds up on TV goes past his table.
It goes past his table, of
That's
course,
what
but
I
I don't
still believe
think
that.
he's dialed into what
Right.
really matters.
You think he's slowly checking out upstairs? Because I am worried about that.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean,
hope not.
And you wouldn't know anyways because he's just such a,
Recluse.
different
Yeah.
animal than
Right.
all of us. But I think with what's going on with AEW and the balance that, that Triple H and Stephanie have to, with NXT, and I just never could imagine that wrestling is like at a 1.5 to 2 million viewers on these national stages.
As
And
much as it's sputtering right now, is the company safe with Triple H and Stephanie in the future, running the show?
they're safe,
Okay.
but they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to.
Just going to keep going the same.
It's going to be, and
steady-
that's what scares me is we are turning off fans very, very at a very high rate because there's just nothing to be passionate about.
Well, you said it. 1.5 fans be broken up between a whole bunch of wrestling
All these shows.
Yeah.
And we
Not
spoke
good.
about this. Today's wrestling. You got 120-pound guys in the ring. Look, man, with all due respect, if I'm going to go watch you wrestle, you sure as well better be able to beat me. Right? I don't want to have to go, oh, really?
Simple.
I can kick this dude.
Believability still counts in this. They could say kayfabe is dead all they want, but if you don't give me something I can believe in,
There used to always be, the Monday night era. You used to watch both programs because you didn't know who was going to show up where. There was always this thing like, what is going to happen? Anything can happen. Now if you miss Raw, you're going to be all right. You
Right.
miss SmackDown,
Right.
you're going to be all right. You miss AEW, you're going to be
Right.
all right.
right?
There has to be. I don't know what it has. I see that's the thing. I don't have the answer. I just know that what is happening and just isn't working.
Here's the answer. They have to build a star, right? So the WWE at some point said, we're not making any more stars because my stars screw me eventually in the end, right? Or whatever the case is, right?
I think Vince changed after Stone Cold took his ball and went home, and Vince went on TV and said Stone Cold took his ball and went home. After that, we had a processed star in John Cena.
Yeah.
Since then, we're waiting for the next one, and Mike says it to me all the time that he feels Cena might be the last great star of any kind, whether he's processed or not.
I think you might be right.
There you go.
So you've always had a great mind for wrestling. Do you ever think about reaching out to the WWE or AEW to be a writer?
Like writing? No.
That's just not my thing.
No.
No, I always want. For me, I'm a performer, and because it's easy to say everybody could put on the booking hat and say they could write.
Right.
I'm just not and anybody will say, oh, I could write a better show. They're kidding themselves.
Well, you hear that all the time.
You hear it all the time. I know it's a lot harder than, and you don't. The problem is, man, back in the day, Vince used to have the main event for WrestleMania, and let's say it was Hogan and Andre, and then you'd go back a year, and then how do we get to the main event of Hogan and Andre at WrestleMania and go back and start booking from there.
Right.
And that's what nobody does anymore. Everybody's just going show to show. They show up. Who are we trying to get over? Who are we going to promote? And there's nobody in either.
Did that start in the Attitude Era with Vince Russo? Because I personally think Vince Russo has got plenty of genius moments in his career. But was he more show to show rather? Because Vince would plan 2 years in advance.
Yeah, he was very much more show to show.
He was show.
But
That's where it begins.
Russo knew his audience.
Oh yeah, he sure
right?
did.
You can't.
Sure did.
We talk Hogan Macho Man. That feud built over a year.
Oh, my God.
Like it's slowly.
Yeah.
You can't do that nowadays. No one has the attention span to watch that.
Yeah, but you could try. It doesn't hurt to try.
I would try.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree.
It doesn't
I
hurt to
think
try.
so.
I think we've gotten to a place where we don't even know what works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just throw stuff out there, and we just, if it doesn't hit week one, if the
Mm-hmm.
ratings are a little low for whatever reason,
Let's bail.
Let's bail.
Or if you
know.
get better ratings, let's just pour that group on again and again and again till you get sick of them.
Yeah, I just think they need to really. I think there's too much wrestling right now.
Yes.
I think there's too much wrestling for what the audience wants. I think if they just had Raw and, you know, maybe SmackDown, screw NXT.
Right.
You know, because I know they did it to, you know, they put it on primetime to run against AEW, but
Right.
that's neither here nor there.
What about the lost art of the valet? You clearly enjoyed.
Yeah,
your...
that's another thing.
Well, can't we have more managers speaking for some of these? Because some of these guys can't talk. I'm
I
sorry.
think Francine, Dawn Marie, so many others.
Amazing.
You know, they were just beautiful girls. Just the cat fights. Just there's so many things you don't do anymore. But why? Why?
But you can't.
Why?
You put a cat fight on, people flip out, right? Oh,
Now
my
it's
God,
sexist.
what are they doing? This
Now
is
it's
sexist.
sexist,
This is
right.
embarrassing.
So what? You know what? Grab a set. And you got to stand for something. This
Right.
is
Yeah,
professional
I
wrestling. This
agree.
is, you could also combat it with, look, this is entertainment.
Right. It
I
is.
also write a story about a murderer who's a psychopath killer, and the cops are going after him. It's fake. We're a fake show. You know what I mean?
Right.
You should be able to.
Right.
You know, this isn't real. Like, where do we
Right.
draw the line of
All right.
reality?
Hypothetical, you're running your own organization, right? And you're getting towards the big time, and you got some really big sponsors. And your writer goes, I got this great idea. We got this talk show host. He's going to bring on this wrestler who happens to be from the islands, and he's going to hit him with a coconut while throwing bananas at him and making fun of his heritage. You're the guy that's running that organization.
Are you pulling the
Are you
trigger on
saying,
that skit,
You know what? I'm going to
Justin?
grab my and I'm going to go with this.
I'm not going to go with that one.
Not today, huh?
Not today.
Not today, huh?
Not today on that one.
What is Justin
God.
Credible's favorite as a fan?
Yeah.
Your favorite match you've ever watched that you
Sure.
love?
Ric Flair, Rick Steamboat.
Ah,
Wrestle War '89.
Son of a.
He goes after that.
Really?
Yeah.
It was great. Which one? Wait a minute. Which one? They had like.
Wrestle War '89 in Nashville.
That's the one I think I picked.
That's the one you picked.
Yeah, I think that's the one. How great was that
It
match?
was great. For me, that's what made me want to be a wrestler.
Bro, you grew up on the Northeast, though.
I know.
man.
That's what everybody says.
You're a traitor.
He's such a real no.
Wow.
He's such a homer though, and so am I though too. We actually back in the days when there was
3,000 people watched that.
That's all right.
yeah, but billions speak about it to this day.
You know, now I can't.
You
tear it
know,
down
right?
anymore.
No, it was okay.
can't.
Look,
It's great.
everybody's different. It was because it was almost everything that the WWF wasn't
At that time, sure.
Because they you know, it was the land of the giants.
Right.
And
But did you embrace Hogan and Warrior when all of that was
I liked
happening?
them
That was
all.
great.
Don't get me wrong. I loved Hogan. I
Okay.
loved Warrior. But as a
Okay.
kid, I was force fed all that stuff, and then I'd go to
Okay.
like the magazine, like the the food stores or wherever.
Sure,
they had the magazine
PWI,
racks.
Wrestler, Pro
And then
Wrestling Illustrated.
Yeah, I'd look
yeah.
at a PWI, and there'd be like Flair, Steamboat, and you'd read all these things, and
Right.
they really helped make wrestling at that time. And then it
Right.
was like, am I missing something? And then when you'd get that opportunity to finally watch it, it was almost like watching something you're not
Well,
supposed
did
to.
you catch any of the earlier Georgia Championship Wrestling in the early? You didn't catch any?
We didn't have WTBS till later.
Oh, bummer, man. That stuff was fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't catch
Oh,
that
my
till later
God.
on.
WWE superstars James Ellsworth and Gilbert in front of a live studio in Philadelphia.
I love Gilbert.
We want to thank Justin Credible, Aldo Montoya,
Just incredible.
and just a hell of a human being. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.
This
It's
is
my
Mike
pleasure.
Monty.
This is the Pharaoh. Until next week, later.